believers. But as we see, you see all these resurrections, and then we know about Jesus. You know that in all the world's religion, Jake and I talked about this morning in Sunday school, that all the world's religions, no one can claim more than what Jesus did as the resurrection. And I was curious, you can go, and probably you've not even heard of some of these. You have baptism, which is a form of basically part of the Baha'i faith. That leader named Bab, B-A-B, you can go to his burial place in Haifa in Israel. That's where he's buried. The Baha'i faith, the guy who started that, he is buried in Acre, A-C-R-E, Acre, Israel. Buddhism, Gautama Buddha's body basically was cremated, but you can go to the Temple of the Tooth in Sri Lanka, and his right tooth is preserved there. And so they can go there and say, okay, that's it. And then we see Christian Science, Mary Eddy Baker. You can go to Cambridge, Massachusetts, see her grave. Martin Luther, he's born in the church, All Saints Church in Wittenberg. Joseph Smith, who founded Mormons. You can go to Illinois and see his grave. Unification Church, Sung Myung Moon, he's buried in Korea. Confucianism, he's buried in his hometown. Excuse me. And the grave is located in a large cemetery, and I thought this was interesting, where more than 100,000 of his descendants are buried there with him. That's a lot of descendants. And wouldn't you love to have been at that family reunion? 100,000 people, descendants buried with him. Hinduism, buried in India. Islam, Muhammad. You can go to his burial place in Medina in Saudi Arabia. Judaism, I thought this was interesting. Moses was buried on Mount Nebo. We don't know exactly where that is on Mount Nebo, but that's where he was buried. But they also have a cave of the patriarchs in Hebron. And this is the tradition saying that there are 4 biblical couples who are buried there. Adam and Eve, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah. And also, as a bonus, the head of Esau is buried there too. And that's called the Cave of the Patriarchs in Hebron. And then you go into Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard, he wasn't buried, he was cremated, he was put out to sea in the Pacific Ocean. And then Sikhism, he's buried in Punjab, Pakistan, but also in part of Afghanistan. They had a discussion there about his body. And so part of it was here, part of it was there, and it's right close to each other. Taoism. Laozi, who's the guy who founded Taoism, basically he was in China and he passed the border, went out into nature somewhere. They don't quite know where he is buried at. Tenriko, she basically was a woman who founded this religion in Japan, and she is also buried there. Excuse me. And then Zoroastrianism. Zoroaster found this. He died basically in Balkh province in Afghanistan while he was praying. Now, it says, tradition says that when he died, his body turned into a flame like fire. And fire is an important part of Zoroastrianism. But they can claim the Balkh province there in Afghanistan where he was here. And probably some of his ashes or some things here. So all these people, you can go to the place where these people are buried or where they're commemorated. Now, Christianity, you can go back to Jerusalem. And they say, I think it's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. They say, well, this is where we think Jesus was buried. But then you can also go to a place called the Garden Tomb. And they say, no, Jesus was buried here. So you have 2 varying descriptions or opinions. This is where the tomb was, this is where the tomb was. But I think what's interesting is this is where it all is summed up. When the ladies went to wherever that tomb was located, and they went to prepare the body properly, because they couldn't do it when Jesus died on the cross, they went back, an angel was standing there, and they said, he told them, look, he is not here, he is risen. Just as he said. Look, that's where his body was, but his body is not there anymore. And that's the big difference we have, because Jesus is alive today. He is alive, sitting on the right hand of the Father, waiting for that day when the Father says, all right, it's time. He says, go get them. Go bring them back. And that's what we're waiting for. In the 60s and the 70s, even into the 80s, like to listen to a guy. This was interesting. And when I was a youth pastor in Ohio, I got one of these TV offers of a guy named Ray Stevens. And y'all know Ray Stevens? All right. He sang, basically his songs were more story songs about some of his experiences, and some he would make up. Ahab the Arab, just the squirrel, Mississippi Squirrel Revival and things. Anyway, I had that on cassette, and whenever we would go on a youth trip or whatever, put in Ray Stevens. I said, okay, whatever. And along came Jones. Yeah, here we go. We're going to really roll these through. Anyway, I actually have a DVD with all these on there. I ought to bring it one time. We'll just watch them all. Anyway, one of the stories he tells is he's from the South. And he's telling a story about his uncle who passed away. He's about 95 years old, but he was bent over with arthritis. And so he said in our town, the tradition was you would set up with the dead. And so basically the funeral home would come and they prepared this body. And as he said they straightened out Uncle Fred and they wrapped a logging chain around him to make sure he stayed straight. Can you believe the story, Gene? This is Ray Stevens. I remember he's saying that. And their tradition was the body was at the house, big house, and coffin, the body, chairs, everybody just sitting around. And he said a storm came up, and he said all of a sudden lightning struck and the chains broke. And Uncle Fred just sat right up. Now he said, you can imagine, he describes the mayhem and the chaos that was coming from all of this. He said to top it all off, somebody stepped on a cat's tail in this whole deal. And that just accelerated it. And so everybody's leaving the house, and Ray Stevens said, well, I'm taking, I just was running to town. He said, I took a shortcut to the cemetery, but he says, I fell in Uncle Fred's grave that had just been dug. And he said that when I fell in, I tried to get out, but he said the town drunk who dug the graves, he dug it too deep. And he was down there. And he said, I was trying to get out, and all of a sudden I heard his voice say, hey, boy, you ain't getting out of here tonight. But at the end, he got out of that grave. You got a good song, it's like that. All that to say, a grave is just a temporary place for us if we believe in Jesus Christ. We have that hope, that resurrection. And for those who don't, that's why we're here, is to share that hope with them. That Jesus Christ died for them so that they can have the hope. Payment for sin's been made. It's done. It's a gift. Here, all you have to do is receive it. So do you have that today? If you do, rejoice in that. And think about somebody else, maybe that you know, that doesn't have that you can share that message with them. Let's bow our heads, please. And as we think about that, we have the opportunity to share this message with other people. And it was good. It's good that people still, to a point, recognize Easter. They come to church. And for some people, that's all it is coming to church and hearing one familiar story about Jesus and the cross and the grave and the resurrection. But if you hear nothing else, that's the only one you need to hear. But how many of those don't know it, haven't heard it? And we have the opportunity to share it with them. Now there are people, it might take several times, it might take years for them to realize this truth. But don't give up on them. Don't give up. But keep sharing with them. And use discernment and wisdom as you share the story with them. I want you to think of somebody today that you can share that story with. Bow your heads, close your eyes. Karen, you're going to play. Just one verse, please. Think about that person that needs to hear that story and pray for them right now. see, we're going to sit here until 12 o'clock. Y'all do it good. Nope, we're finished. Thank y'all for being here. We're going to sing. And then just fellowship as you go out. Thank you for being here today. Are you disappointed? We can sit here. It's okay. Somebody wants to share something.
I'd like to share something.
Okay.
The second book, Proof of Heaven, written by Dr. Alexander, my neurosurgeon, Dr. Evan Alexander, was his father. And he was adopted. And I didn't know, I remember I had a brain tumor when I was like 14. And I remember my mom saying, I think I was in the hospital about a month, and they had the children, the parents can stay, around there. So mom was staying there, and she walked in one night late, and she couldn't sleep. It was like 1 o'clock. And she said, Dr. Alexander was sitting by her bed, holding her hand. And he looked at mom and he said, this is the night we need to be praying for Jean's, pull her back through. Well, I remember that vividly, and then I read this book 40-some years later, and his son that was adopted said that he knew God, but he was in research, and he really did, but he had a near-death experience. And he said, I could feel my family pulling me back through. And that just like, wow, and I just felt like I needed to say that.
Okay, great. Thank you. See, that's just not a book. That's real. There you go. Thank you for that, Gene. I appreciate that. That's good testimony. All right. Okay.
I'd like to thank everybody for praying for me. It helps. I mean, I could feel it. Like you said, it's you know that somebody's praying for you, and it really does help. Thank you.
Anybody else? That's okay. That's good. It's great.
Okay. Wow, we have time.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
And I know we like to thank God for the prayers of this church. I know so much of that. And I think back to the time when the deacons in the church prayed for me when we were oil. And I was just reading James. And I just read it last Saturday night. I read the verse about being healed and what you do. You need to pray and you need to be that was the church where the hand and the Lord. And that is the way to be healed. And I thought, work for me. Thank the Lord. Well, later on that afternoon, I'm out with my doggies in my neighborhood rec village, and the Timko is not here. The Timko.
I know, yes.
John Timko, and we were walking his dog. So we started chatting. And it doesn't take believers long to start talking about God. Because he mentioned something about his wife, who is so then we have that's a prayer, certainly, that's a huge part of my healing. I said, I know a lot of people are very private about their life. I said, I wanted my prayer warriors to know it. I wanted because I felt like I needed that prayer. I said, and then my sweet church should pray with me and help me. He said, I was raised Catholic. When I remarried this wife, she was Baptist. We lived in the Presbyterian Church on the hill.
Yes.
So he said, I had shoulder surgery. He said, I had no range of motion, such pain. I could not move my left arm. And he said, I asked my elders one day in a meeting, he said, would y'all consider, I've read James, would y'all consider praying for me? And I said, we never done that, but we will. And he said, they did. And he said, afterwards, I was walking down the hall, and some lady came out of the another lady said, how are you doing, John? He goes, I don't know. He said, but I did ask the Lord to help me. He said, because I haven't had any range of
Good, okay.
But thank y'all.
Amen. There you
And
go.
Gene, I'm so glad they talked to you. Appreciate it.
And prayer, yes, prayer is the most important. That's the best thing you can do. Don't look at it as a last resort. Look at it as the first line of defense, so to speak, or the first action that you need. And just, people were asking about Pam today. Well, she's at home because this is day 5 after the second treatment. So days 5 and 6 are the hard days. They told us it would be. And of course, this is her second treatment, so things accelerated. All the things that happened the first time accelerated this time. So, and the reality of other things are there now too. And it's tough. And the hair issue, that's beginning to be a reality. So that's been a tough day. That was a tough day for Carl Wednesday and Thursday and on. So but she knows everybody's praying for her, and she certainly appreciates it. And she said, so I'm going to do this. She told me to do this, and usually I'm obedient to a point. I want to greet you all for Pam. Pam sends her greetings. So I greeted you all, so I fulfilled that obligation. So if there's anybody else, then we're going to sing and be dismissed. Look, you're still getting out early. Man.